Hey y'all, so I'm back again. I've got some shadows. I've sort of lost my natural light. It's getting later in the day, so I'm gonna try to do this under my, under my regular light here. Yeah, it's gonna have some shadows, but hopefully you can see. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So I made another template using some graph paper and just a lightweight chipboard piece off the back of a paper pad, okay? And I've made my holes, okay? And now what I'm gonna do, so this is 2.5 inch, this is a 2.5 inch spine. And this is about, where's my, let's see, ruler. So this book is right at 10 inches by 7 and not quite 7 3/4, and but 10 inches this way is really what matters at this point. But I came down 1 inch from the top and 1 inch from the bottom, and then 2 inches in between to do a 5-hole pamphlet stitch on this. And then, you know, came to the center and then went out about approximately 1/4 inch both ways, okay? So I'm giving myself more room in between the signatures than in between this first signature and the front of the spine and the back of the spine, which it still gives you plenty of room. If you do like a 2 inch spine or a 3 inch spine or a 1 inch spine, it's a little bit easier to calculate doing this with 5 signatures. So there are other videos out there on how to make your templates, okay, for all different kinds of sizes. So I'm not huge on the measuring, so to sit down and do this with you, that's not fun for me. So I'm just showing you my template and sort of how I came up with that. And then and again, I'm not looking for perfection. A lot of times I will just eyeball this and try to make it, you know, centered and giving yourself enough for equal amounts of space in between the signatures. And sometimes if I go closer inside, like I probably could go a little bit closer in here and here, maybe one more like 1/8 of an inch. And that would probably be actually, but just by eyeballing it, that looks most accurate for the same amount of space in between the signatures. But it's hard just eyeballing. So I did measure, and like I said, now that I'm looking at it, I still think anyway, that's just the way I did it, okay? And this is kind of the way I do most of my books. I'll make one template. I have a little golden book template. I have other templates for the 2.5 inch spine. And then I'll use this for a while until it's worn out and I'll make another one. But this is the template I made for this one. And it will be fine. You'll see when I get this done. Now what I normally do is I will clamp this here and here. Clamp something here and here to hold this. And then I don't make marks. I just poke my holes through these holes with my, with this awl tool. Okay, and you can I have another video where I showed some of this process, doing the 3-hole pamphlet stitch, but you can buy a binding kit on Amazon that will give you everything you need to bind a book, okay? And I'll try to remember. I'll go back. I'll probably load the video and then maybe go back and put the link, but just look up just look up journal or book binding kit on Amazon, and it'll bring you up with a bunch of different options, okay? Where you can get one of these, you'll get needles, and you'll get thread. I think you get a little ruler. Everything you need to bind a book, okay? But this is, so I'm going to try to mark because, and the reason why, sorry, I'm scatterbrained. The reason why I normally would just hold this in place and then poke my holes is because sometimes, depending on what kind of fabric I use, the marks are hard to see, okay? So I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm going to mark these. And you can use a white marker too. Let me take this out of my mouth. Sometimes using a white pen, if you have a dark fabric, is better. But somebody requested that I show how I do this, and I'm sorry that I'm in shadows. But hopefully you'll be able to see well enough what I'm doing. And hopefully we'll be able to see these marks. Otherwise, I'm gonna clamp it down and do it the way I normally do. Because I don't know if these are gonna show up really well. Okay, so these, see, I'm not sure if that mark is from my pen. Yeah, it is, okay. So looking at this, this looks, it's hard to, 3, 4, 5. See how there's all those other dots in there? So that's kind of hard to see. All right. Now I can't even find my, I can't even see these marks right here. I can see some of these. Yeah, so what we're gonna do, I'm gonna do it the way I normally do, is I'm gonna put this back down. And I'm gonna use my clamp. Yeah, I wish I had done this earlier today, y'all. Because I'm trying to figure out how not to have such a shadow. Let's see. Yeah, that's still not gonna work. So I'm gonna clamp this here. And I'll make sure I gotta make sure I'm in the center. Clamp that. And then I do have another clamp in here. Let's see. Somewhere. Well, there you are. There it is. Just drop my needle. So I have this other clamp that's a little sturdier. Okay, that came off with something. Anyway, okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my, what I do with my awl. So organized here, y'all. So I'm going to take my awl and I'm just going to come up like this. I'm going to hold my book and watch where you have your fingers, okay? Don't put your finger right behind there. And you can do this on something soft too if you have, you can use a cushion of some kind, or what are those things called? That you use for stamping, like the stamp mat. Okay. Gotta make sure that that's not moving. This is really hard to show you guys on the video. because a lot of times I do this, I'll actually do this part, like sitting on my couch or something, and I use an old pillow as something as a cushion. Yeah, I'm bad for, like I said, watch where you put your, I'm poking the holes down here. Watch where you put your fingers. I've poked myself many a time doing this. Oh, I just hit my camera, sorry. Okay. All right, so now I have my holes. Okay, so if you can see. So now I can see my holes. See, you can see where they are. You can see through them. Okay. So now, some people will do their journals. They'll go from the back signature to the front. We'll try that. I don't think that really matters for me. I've done it both ways. It doesn't really bother me either way. Now where's my needle? Okay. And then I have my needle. I use a large needle. I think I've showed this before. Okay, focus, focus, focus. You see that? I use more of like an embroidery, a large embroidery needle, just because that's what I like to use. I have such big hands, and I struggle with these little, those little needles. So I did all my sewing earlier, and I've already set up my signatures pretty much like I want them. So now is the time, I shouldn't say here, but now is the time to adjust these if you want them kind of centered, if you want them offset. In this case, I kind of want them a little bit centered, but they're not all the same size. So, but that's how I got these set up. So now, I'm going to poke my holes. And I really, honestly, should take this out of the way. I thought that might help you be able to see better, but I don't think it really matters. So I'm going to kind of line up and look at where my pages are. Look at where my pages are in my book. Okay, so I want a little bit, I want a little bit towards the edge here and a little bit towards the edge there. I don't want to go all the way to the top. I want it centered, okay? So I'm going to line this up with my holes. And then I eyeball this, okay? So I can see from my direction where I'm looking through here to see where that hole is. And then I'm going to poke my hole. And you see where it comes out at? Comes out at that hole right there, which is where I want it, okay? So I'm going to do my middle. And then I'm going to go up. I'll do that one. And I'm going to go up to this one. There's the hole. All right, I gotta push that back down. Here we go. And then there's this hole. Now you can go through and mark you can take your template, okay, and go through here and use these dots and make marks where you know your holes are going to be, okay, and do it that way. I did that a lot in the beginning, And I've just gotten to where I'm comfortable sort of eyeballing it. And I'm going back through these holes a little bit, poking a little bit bigger hole because I have some thick things in here. So I don't want to struggle with trying to go in and out of those holes when I'm binding. Some people will, you know, not poke as big a hole. So I'm going to go, a lot of times I'm bad about using way more of this than what I need for one signature, but I really like to kind of go, you know, almost half the page more than what I need. And then I'll come back and I'll do another, you know, I want, especially on a 5-hole pamphlet stitch, I want to have enough room to move my, my thread around and pull and be able to adjust without having it so tight before I'm done that I can't really, it's super hard to work with for me. That's the way I do it. And I do end up wasting, I came in here and didn't even bring my scissors. Hang on a second. Excuse me. I still got this crud. So I like to have more than what I need for binding. Especially the 5-hole, because it's a little bit more challenging, okay? So now I've threaded my needle, left me, I came, you know, across with quite a bit of extra here, okay? And I'm still going to come up. So this is my last signature. I got to remember that. And then this is how it goes. So make sure that I have my signature right, going the right way. And I'm going to come through this middle hole. So this is, you're still going to kind of come through that middle hole first. Okay. And I'm going to pull this through quite a bit. You see why this is kind of hard to do on camera? Okay, so I'm going to pull that through, and I'm going to leave about that much, okay? Then I'm going to come around. Okay, I'm going up to the next hole. Okay, which is right there. And then I'm going to push. And see, this gives me leeway for the pages to move around some, okay? So we come through that hole. Then I'm going to come through this hole. And see, it's not wanting to go through. Of course, because I'm on camera. All right, where's my roll? So if you struggle a little bit getting that in there, then just come back through. Woo, that almost came through. All right, come back to your hole. Okay, there we go. And poke back through. And then come back here. And it's still giving me trouble. Oh, for crying out loud. Okay, there we go. Here we go. It's wanting to fight with me a little bit. Okay, so now that came off my needle, okay? No big deal. Just thread it back through. Okay. So then, turn this around again. And then we're gonna go up through this hole. And then into the top hole here. Okay. Now, we're gonna go back through this hole okay? And here's where you need to be really careful. So you want to come in on the outside of that thread and poke through. You do not want to poke through this thread, okay? So this is why I give myself a lot of room, because if I'm trying to poke through this and this, it's just a headache to me. Okay, and now I've got to come back through this same hole that I just struggled with and not go through that thread. Okay, there we go. All right. Let's see. Okay, see what happened there? So it did, when I came back through, this did puncture through this thread. So what I do, just don't go pulling on it a whole lot and you're fine. I just pull that, take it off my needle and pull it, okay? So now it's not going through that thread. I'll thread it again. Okay. I'm gonna pull that through. Now I'm gonna go all the way down to this hole. Okay, and I'm gonna punch through that. Okay. Come through there. Then we're gonna come back, just constantly flipping the book around. Then I'm gonna come through this hole. Actually, you know what? Yeah, this hole. Okay. And pull that through. Then we're going to come back up through this hole up here. And yep, that's my hole. And now I will tell you, the thicker that you make your signatures and the thicker that you make your spine, the little more challenging that this is. Okay, so now we're coming back through that hole. And then we'll flip around again. Okay, and then we're going to go back through this hole. And again, being very careful not to split into that thread, okay? All right, and we didn't because it's moving. Okay, so now we're going to come back through. So this is the final one, back through the center again. And let's see if we did it. Yeah, see, we kind of got through that, kind of went through that again, okay? So now, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna fix that, all right. So see, this is where it gets tricky. Those people who can just go right through the spine and the pages and everything, I admire you guys because I'm not really good at that. So I'm gonna try to loosen this up a little bit so I can get back through here, because I'm not the greatest at that. Okay, so here we go. Okay. And did we go through that thread again? Yep. Yep, we did just a hair. All right, but that's very correctable, okay? And this is pretty solid. I'm gonna tighten this up, okay? This is nice, like a 4 or 5 ply wax linen thread. So if I was using something a lot thinner, you really don't want it to go through like that. You want to be super, super careful. I've never had any problems, like fixing that or making that correction while I'm working on my journals. And then I've never really had any problems later with anything coming apart. So now I'm just kind of going through. I'm just going to make sure that, you know, everything's in here good. Nothing really got messed up. Okay. Yeah. So it looks good. And part of what makes this a little more difficult is this is kind of thick. Excuse me. This is kind of thick. So when you are binding, just keep that in mind. That makes it, you know, if you use 5 or 6 just book pages or just paper, you know, that's not kind of doubled up like that is, you usually don't have those problems. But when you use thicker stuff, and I tend to use thicker stuff a lot of times, you know, I like to make things difficult. So then I'm gonna knot it. Make sure it's tight, okay, like I did, and check it. And then make sure it's tight out here, okay? And then tie it. I usually tie it twice, okay? All right, and then see, I have quite a bit of string left over, okay? But then it also gives me that wiggle room when I'm binding. And then it also gives me these long strings. So if I want to tie, if I decided I want to tie some dangles outside of here, or if I want to make this a dangle, and you can put dangles on it and make it a bookmark and, you know, have it go over the edge that way. Or you can just, you know, when I tie my buttons on, I've got plenty of play in here, and then I can cut them, okay? So that is the 5th signature on there. So then what I'll do, and I don't know, let's see. Yeah, this is already 26 minutes, y'all. I'm gonna go back, and I'm gonna I think it's really hard to show you guys. I hope that shows you the 5-hole pamphlet stitch and enough of my process that you can do that on your own, or try it, or try finding some other videos. Jessica Rapp has some great beginner videos if you go back and look on her channel. There's a lady out there, I think her channel is called Sea Lemon, and she does a lot of different binding tutorials. Just search that and see what you can find, and you can probably find somebody who can explain it a little bit better than I can. But that's my process, my wonky process of doing things. And then and I've learned a little along the way. I used to do I will say I used to do much thicker signatures, and I will say that it's a lot easier if you keep your pages to maybe 5 or 6 pages of signature and then do more signatures. It's easier to bind, you know, and if you don't get things too thick. I used to be really bad at just putting a whole bunch. I'd put like 15 pages in a signature, you know, and bind it. And you can do that, you know, if you're doing a 1 signature. I've done that. But when you start doing thick things, you know, it's really hard. It's better if you do less pages per signature and more signatures. So I hope that makes sense. But anyway, so I'm gonna move forward in getting this done, and then and getting this bound, and because I know you know, somebody has requested that she wanted this journal when she saw me making it, so I'm gonna try to get it done for her. I'd planned on having it done last weekend, and that didn't happen because, you know, I got the crud. But anyway, life keeps getting in the way of my life, my plans. But anyway, so I'm going to come back with a flip through of this later on. I may do some other embellishments and stuff, and then I'm going to move on from Christmas, and I'm going to work in my journal some, so I'm going to try to do some videos of that over the next month, and show you as I'm working in my Christmas journal. And then I've kind of got a plan in my mind to make it a little bit easier just to get it done this year, instead of taking forever, you know, like a whole year to get it done. We'll see what happens, you know. Life's what happens while you're making other plans, right? So anyway, love you guys, and I will see you again soon. Bye.